This is Jacqueline Price, aka Rich Sister, and I welcome you to another edition of Thoughts for Vision, inspirational topics to help get you through life. Thank God for this opportunity, and I thank all of you out there for tuning in today. If you need any info about me, about Thoughts for Vision, one place and one place only for you to go to, and that's what I like to call my one-stop shop. Check out my website, www.JackieJackieAP.com. Need info about the Thoughts for Vision blog and radio show, social network pages, want to donate to Thoughts for Vision, you need any info like resume, headshots, whatever have you, you need that info from my LinkedIn page, please feel free to contact me and get that info. And that, once again, is at my one-stop shop. You can check it out in the comments. Got it posted. www.JackieJackieAP.com. Check it out. Want to welcome you all here today. Hope you are having a wonderful day wherever you're at. I see a couple people are tuned in. Thank you for watching. And anyone else that comes in, thank you so much for watching. I decided today because today we are officially a month away from the Thoughts for Vision anniversary. I will next month be making 7 years of Thoughts for Vision. So excited about that coming up. And I decided once again, it was between the testimony that I gave last week, and if you missed last week's show, check that out. Between that and the sermon that I heard on Sunday, and shout out to Elder Darren McAllister. He gave a wonderful sermon on Sunday that reminded me of this topic that I did, and I wanted to revisit the topic. This is another time I chose, and I may do a few of these coming up maybe within these next few weeks with the anniversary coming up. But I decided to revisit a topic, and why I'm revisiting it, because I did this topic while I was on Blog Talk Radio. So for those of you that weren't listening when I did this topic then, I wanted to revisit it. And the topic of the show, and this was a show I did back in 2012. It's called, Are You Willing to Take Up Your Bed and Walk? Now that was the taken from that show. That was the title of that show. And definitely I wanted to replay the verse. And a little, I'm just giving you a little snippet of that show. In fact, let me make sure I have this turned up. Sorry, I should have did this before the show. Sorry, but I wanted to make sure that I was turned up loud so you can hear, because I'm going to be playing it from my computer. So I just want to play a clip from the show that has the verse and just a little bit of what was said on the show. So once again, this was a show that I did back in 2012 called, Are You Willing to Take Up Your Bed and Walk? So I'm going to play a little snippet of that. Okay? Let me read today's verses coming from the book of John, chapter 5, verses 5 through 9. Once again, today's verses coming from the book of John, chapter 5, verses 5 through 9. And a certain man was there which had an infirmity 38 years. When Jesus saw him lie, and knew that he had been now a long time in that case, he said unto him, Wilt thou be made whole? The impotent man answered him, Sir, I have no man where the water is troubled to put me in the pool. But while I am coming, another steppeth down before me. Jesus said unto him, Rise, take up thy bed, and walk. And immediately the man was made whole, and took up his bed, and walked. And on the same day was the Sabbath. When you think about that, it makes me think about how we can be. Ask yourself, do you make excuses as to why you're not in a specific place in life? As we look at the story, here was a man that was laying and this was at the pool of Bethesda. For those of you not too familiar with the story, there's a man laying there at the pool of Bethesda for 38 years, laid there ill. And Jesus saw him and he knew he'd been there for a long time. He just asked him, Would thou be made whole? But the man made excuses, talking about, well, nobody was there to put me in the pool, and people just keep stepping over me. And Jesus finally told him, Rise, take up his bed. When you think about that, that says a lot about how we can be sometimes, how we tend to make excuses for where we are or for where we're not, When we think about that, we have to make a decision. Have you made a decision when it comes to certain areas of your life? Or do you tend to be one that just stays, indecisive? You can't make any decision, or you make excuses. See, we got to be willing to take steps, take actions for what we want in life. You can't continue to be about making excuses. If you want to have the best life that you can possibly have, you got to make steps, actions towards having that good life. Just think about what God would want for you. Think about that. We could have the best life possible, but sometimes we tend to get in our own way. Either with thoughts, with certain beliefs, not really thinking, just not really being all that confident in what you want. All we have to do is be willing to really set our mind with the help of the Lord and ask His guidance, It's like God is asking us that question. Do we want to be made whole? And so many times we're not whole because we choose not to be whole. We swear up and down that, I'm not making a choice, but in a way, you are making that choice. You are making, there's a choice to do one or the other. We're either going to succeed in life, or if not, you're making the choice to not succeed. Some people tend to be avoidant. and not want to deal with things properly. But we got to be willing to eventually step out on faith. We got to be willing to do like the man did in the story. We got to be willing to take up our bed and walk. It's so easy to stay comfortable. See, that's another problem. People get comfortable where they're at. They get comfortable. They don't want to stir the waters. They like the comfort of being where they're at. Or they like sympathy. See, that's one thing. If you think about somebody who's always talking about how bad they feel and how sick they are, that draws sympathy. And they want sometimes that attention. I mean, it's kind of sad. It seems like people will take any kind of attention they get, whether it's good or bad attention. Sometimes people just want that. They get a little too comfortable with that sympathetic ear. But God wants us whole. Okay, I'm just going to stop that right there. I just wanted to play a snippet of that past show. But once again, that came from a show from 2012 saying, "Are you willing to take up your bed and walk?" And of course, the verses that came from, once again, that was found in the book of John. Okay, that was the book of John. Let's see, chapter 5. Okay. It went from John chapter 5, verses 5 through 9. And I was talking about the man at the pool of Bethesda. And Jesus just simply asked him a question. Would thou be made whole? And of course he had excuses, about people that he didn't have no people to put him in the pool, and people keep stepping over me. He kept having excuses until Jesus said to him, "Rise up, take their bed and walk." And immediately he was made whole. And like I said, that reminded me just about the testimony that I gave last week, and then the message that I heard on Sunday. Is that something that you need to ask yourself? Do you need to ask yourself, do you want to be made whole? That's something you need to ask yourself. Are you willing to be made whole? Because as I played in the clip just now, there's a payback in, well, at least some people see a payback in not being made whole. Whether it's just sympathy or being in that pity state, that oh, woe is me, the attention that you get and all that stuff. You got to ask yourself, is that worth, is that payback worth the overall, what could be the wholeness of your life? And there's so many ways for you to be whole. He wants you to be whole in every aspect of your life. He wants you whole in every aspect, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, financial, whatever. He wants you whole in every area of your life in every area. Some of you are dealing with certain ailments, but you know, you may not be taking care of yourselves the proper way. You may not be eating right, may not be exercising, you know. You may not be taking your medications. You may be abusing your medications, whatever. You may not be, I mean, it all really starts with the mindset. The mindset. You got to have a great mindset. It's all about what you're thinking about. It starts in the mind. What are you thinking about? Do you want to be made whole? Do you want to be made whole? Do you want to be made well? Are you willing to take up your bed and walk? Are you willing to do what, first of all, it took him 38 years to do? The man at the pool of Bethesda, it took him 38 years to do that. But of course, we don't want to wait that long. But some of you have been struggling with certain ailments, certain issues, emotional, mental issues for that long or maybe even longer. And God wants you whole. He wants you whole. He wants you whole. He wants you well. He wants you free from all that. He wants you free. And that's what you got to want. You got to want to be free from all of that. You got to be free. You got to want to be free. Do you find yourself wallowing in self-pity or doubt or just looking for sympathy, just wanting any kind of attention? You know, even if it's bad attention, some people just, they just want attention. But God wants us well. He wants us whole. We have got to be willing to take up our bed and walk. Ask yourself the question. Or do you plan to just sit in disappointment? Sit in your hurts. Sit in your pain. See, that's not living a blessed and fulfilled life. That is not what God wants for you. He wants you at peace. He wants you in a good place. Some of you are simply just not in a good place. You're not in a good place. Things that you've dealt with. Some of you have been through some traumatic stuff. You've really been through some traumatic stuff. May have been molested or raped or, you know, went through some kind of other abuses, physical abuse, verbal abuse. I mean, y'all, some of you have really been through some traumatic stuff. I mean, I went through my issues. I've been molested. I mean, and you really have to work through that stuff. It's not something that you can just pray it away. You know, you really got to take the time to deal with this stuff that's happened to you, the things that you've been through. Because a lot of people really do not see how it's holding them back. You may not make the tie to how the stuff in your past is holding you back in the present and from your future. You may need to seek help for that. I've talked about it before. I've been to counseling, and that was a big, I will always say that was a big part of my development, going to counseling, because, I mean, that really helped me to work through that stuff. Because too many of us, we tried to put, and I spent my time trying to do that too, trying to push it aside with whatever is going on in your life, whether it's try to push it aside through work, through school, through even church, even doing church works, or you may be abusing stuff, maybe abusing food and drugs and alcohol, stuff like, I mean, it doesn't matter. It can be bad stuff that you're using it to push away, or even good stuff. See, even church works. See, even church works. Some of you could be even using church to try to push away the pain of your past. So you think doing a bunch of church works is going to get rid of all that. There's no other way to deal with that stuff but to deal with it. And you may need to seek help. You may need to go see a counselor or someone like that to really help you have that unbiased person to really help you sort through that stuff. Because I did both individual and group counseling. I did that within the course of a year and a half. And it really helped me. That's all I could say. It really helped me. And some of you may need to do that. You may need to seek counseling to be healed from the stuff in your past. So it's something to really consider and get done. I mean, if you need that kind of help, go seek it out. Someone that you trust, somebody that you're in sync with, comfortable with, and really try to work that stuff out. That's why I thank God, like I said before, my church, West Angeles Church, they have a counseling center, because it's a lot of churches that don't, I guess, really believe in, they feel like, hey, just come to church, shout 50 times, go run around in a circle 50 million times, and, and nothing wrong with that per se, but sometimes you may need to go beyond that. Beyond running around the church. Beyond the church works. You may need to go beyond that. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with seeking out help. That type of help if you need it. I encourage you, in whatever way that you are hurting, that you're in pain, there's no other way around it but to deal with it. And take care of yourself. Be willing to take up your bed and walk. To see, Jesus is asking us all that simple question. Will we be made whole? Will we be made whole? That's a simple question you need to ask yourself. Are you willing to be made whole, or are you going to just wallow in your self-pity? Something that you really need to take care of, to handle, trust in the Lord. Get that relationship with God. I mean, that's where it starts. The altar is a start. I think about when people come into the altar at church, Bishop Blake says all the time, when they come to the altar, that you made a great start. See, the altar is not a finish. It's a start. We start there at the altar, giving ourselves to the Lord, but then we got to grow and develop by reading His Word, by coming before Him in prayer, by, seeking out a good church, attending. See, those are all good, and those are steps towards your healing. Those are all steps. Those are things that we need to do to grow and to develop. In so many ways, there's the spiritual things, and then there's the natural things that we need to do to take care of ourselves. If we need a physical healing, like I said, starts off first with diet and exercise. We got to eat right, then, because a whole bunch of diseases could be, probably totally wiped out through diet and exercise first and foremost. But if you need to have to look into medication for a season, maybe, you can, there's that, although hopefully that'll be for a season, like I talked about last week, I don't be on medication for the rest of my life. I can understand having to use that for a season. Then hopefully through diet and exercises, you can eventually maybe even cut that out your life, and be made well. Be made well in every aspect of our lives. God wants us whole. He wants us free. He wants us made well. Period. Bottom line to that. He wants us made well. You got to ask yourself the question. Are you willing to take up your bed and walk? Hopefully it will not take you 38 years to do that, but no matter though, whenever you start, it's all good. But are you willing to take up your bed and walk? Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to be made whole? Are you willing to do that? That's something you and only you can answer for yourself. And with that, that wraps up what I have to say about the topic today. Hopefully that has helped and blessed your life. Just remember, God wants you healthy. He wants you whole in every aspect of your life. In every aspect of your life. Just remember that. Just remember that, okay? Do what you can to be whole. Because God wants to use us. He wants to use, He wants to greatly use us. And He can't do that. He can't do it if we're constantly bound up. He can't use us the way He really wants to use us. Okay? So keep that in mind. He wants to use you greatly. And you got to be a whole person to be used. You have got to be free. You have got to be free. You got to be free from your past. Anything in your past you feel is holding you back. You got to be released of it. I mean, I understand you're not going to forget it, but you got to be released of it. You got to be released from it. Because it's holding you back from your present, and it's keeping you away from the future that God has for you. Okay? Once again, I welcome you. If you are interested in being a guest on Thoughts for Vision, or if you would like to use me as a speaker, please feel free to contact me in two ways. First of all, by email at thoughtsforvision@yahoo.com. Once again, thoughtsforvision@yahoo.com. Or, of course, you can inbox me right here on Facebook. Inbox me right here. Oh. Hold on. I'm gonna have to hold on. I'm gonna delete this. I have to post that again. So once again, you can inbox me here on Facebook. Facebook.com/richsister. Okay? If you want to contact me in one of those two ways, okay? So once again, email me at thoughtsforvision@yahoo.com. Once again, thoughtsforvision@yahoo.com. Or you can inbox me here on Facebook, okay? Facebook.com/richsister. If you want to be a guest, if you want to use me as a speaker, okay? Please feel free to contact me in those one or two ways, okay? Once again, thoughtsforvision@yahoo.com. That's where you can email me, thoughtsforvision@yahoo.com. Or you can inbox me right here on Facebook. Facebook.com/richsister. Once again, Facebook.com/richsister. Okay? So please feel free to contact me in either of those ways, okay? And with that, that is going to wrap up the show for today. I thank you for tuning in. For those of you who've been listening since the beginning, or you may just be new to the show since being on Facebook Live, thank you so very, very much. Once again, Thoughts for Vision anniversary is going to be next month. I mean, today makes a month away, exact month away from it. So I thank God for that. For those who've been listening, those whole 7 years from Blog Talk Radio, or if you may just be a new listener as of recently, thank you so much for just tuning in. Once again, anything that you need about me, go to the website that's in the comments, www.jackieap.com. If you need anything about, just any info about what I'm doing, how to keep up with me, go to that website, www.jackieap.com. Okay? That is going to wrap up for the show for today. Thank you so very, very much for tuning in to the Thoughts for Vision radio show today. And remember, God's thoughts plus your vision equals greatness. Once again, God's thoughts plus your vision equals greatness. Take care. You have a wonderful day. And I will see you on the radio soon. Take care and God bless.